Okay, so one of the exercises that I give all of my CrossFitters, all of my lifters, particularly those who are working on overhead movements, anything in terms of like doing jerks, doing snatches, doing presses, and then the reverse, doing handstand push-ups. Anyone who is kind of experiencing pain in the shoulder, usually kind of in the front of the shoulder, whenever they're locking out, going into that overhead position, either here or here. Oftentimes that is because we've got a muscle just kind of like under our armpit and along the ribs called the serratus anterior, which is not as active as it should be. And therefore, when it's tight, actually tends to project our shoulders forward. And then we try to lift our arms up and it causes pinching or just discomfort in the front of the shoulder. So this exercise is one that I created for my lifters, particularly for Olympic weightlifters who need to be able to have really good stability with weight overhead in sort of like a wider grip position as well as up overhead this way. What you're going to do to set yourself up for this exercise is you're going to attach a band. It can be either a TheraBand, a regular TheraBand that you'd have at home, and you just tie a knot around a vertical pole. Or if you're doing this at home, you can attach it to the leg of a heavy dining table, something that isn't going to move when you're pulling on it. Or if you're doing this at the gym, you can attach it to a squat rack. You want to attach either one of these pull-up bands or, like I said, a TheraBand to the squat rack or your table or vertical, whatever. And you're going to set up in a racing stance, okay, with your arm out to the side in this 90-degree angle. And you want the band to be about equal with your elbow/shoulder in this 90-degree angle. And you're going to start in this racing stance with opposite leg forward. And from here, I'm going to make sure that my core is nice and tight so that I'm not arching this way or whatever. And I'm going to twist down and I'm going to extend my elbow. And then at the end of this movement, I'm actually going to think about pulling my back, okay? What this does is it kicks in the serratus anterior muscle, and you may also feel your obliques kick in because the serratus and the obliques work together. And in this position, I am then going to slowly control bringing the arm up. Notice that I've kept my back arched towards the door. And then once I get to this end range, I'm then going to think about pulling that arm back down. But what I'm going to feel working as I pull the arm back down is this muscle in here, okay? Then I'm going to come back to zero and start and restart again. If I want to play with different angles or if I'm working on doing a snatch, I'm going to let my arm come out further to the side to that snatch position, still feeling this muscle engage, and then come back to that point straight in front of me, all the while keeping my back arched towards the door, and then come back to here and come back to here. So the feeling of the shoulder blade as you're doing the movement, like I said, you want to keep that rounded back position, but it almost feels like I'm trying to scoop my shoulder blade around my rib cage as I'm going up overhead, okay? That's how you know that the serratus anterior is doing its job, because its sole purpose is to do this rounded back protraction, okay? So with the band, given that you're doing this with a lot of control, you want to make sure that you're really focusing on engaging those muscles as you move through the range. Because of that, you don't have to do as many reps in a given set. It could be, I often find, honestly, even doing a set of 5 to 8, just one set of 5 to 8 before I do any of my overhead lifts makes a huge difference. And what you're going to kind of feel afterwards, you may find the first couple of repetitions, you may still get a little bit of that pinchy feeling, but then, and this is the other reason you want to go nice and slowly, is you don't want to let the band like snap your arm back, because that's going to be uncomfortable. But you want to go nice and slowly so that you can really force your brain to use every single one of those muscle fibers as you go up overhead. And then after a couple of repetitions, and as the muscle kind of figures out what it's supposed to do in life, that's when that little pinchy feeling starts to get a little more comfortable. And usually by the end of a set of 5 to 8, it's feeling pretty good. If you still feel like you want to do another set, you absolutely can. And like I said, this is something that I give to anyone who's already experiencing shoulder pain, and I give it to them as an actual rehab exercise to strengthen that muscle. But I personally also do it as an activation before doing any overhead lifting, so that I feel extra punchy and I feel extra solid in my overhead positions. If you have any questions, put them below. Thanks.